All right, welcome everyone to the Outside the Lab podcast. My name is Steven,
My name's Isaac.
My name's Micah.
and for this week topic, we're going to talk about AI on healthcare. So, of course, we went over our sources. We decided to check up on it, making sure that we're actually a little educated on it. And no, AI has definitely gone a long way since we were little, right, guys?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's definitely true. Have y'all seen like the clips of like Google's new AI for like they create video? Do
I
you see how
think like
realistic those look now?
yeah,
yeah,
all
the,
the Instagram videos are showing like these characters doing AI vlogs. Is
Yeah, and
that
like
program?
yeah, and like 3 years ago, you could definitely tell it was AI.
Right.
this it actually looks real.
Yeah,
Mhm. Gosh, and then just remember when we just had like the what's it called, like Siri and Amazon Echo, and also Google just being in like our homes, like the little
yeah,
on the side.
and
But
now I got none of that. I got
people basically
ChatGPT.
sliced bread.
Yep, and then everyone else starts copying ChatGPT, right? But yeah, no, so guess we're gonna go straight into it. So yeah, no, I would say that I also was in the lab that was like in this like field of just AI in medicine. They were like researching on like how to describe AI, where it's working, and like how it would affect these doctor-patient interactions and actually how it helps with the stresses of doctors. So I
Mm,
think it's pretty cool just like how it went like a long way from when AI was implemented back in like what 1970s, 1980s. And
yeah.
so I was just wondering if you guys knew of any like applications of it now that we can get into.
Well, yeah, there's like general predictions and diagnosis, like for Alzheimer's, strokes, and various cancers. I was gonna join a lab that was making an AI that specifically helped with radiation oncology and make finding out early signs of cancers.
I haven't really had any really like, real experience with AI in the medical field, but I feel like it's going so far already. Like all of my classes at school have already like the teachers are already accepting it. They're like, if you have any questions, ask chat first. I'm like, yeah, that'd probably help. But um, it's really revolutionizing the way that doctors are able to work more efficiently and diagnose faster. I think it's really
Yeah.
cool.
No, that's the wild because I remember my teachers just telling me like, no, no AI, none of that writing inside. So just like societies, like, and I'm sure there's like also just a few people out there that really like is worried about AI taking over like the Terminator movies, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen some study. There was a study done on like some kids, and they were asked questions like that, and a lot of them came with the conclusion that AI would take over.
You
Yeah.
know, it's amazing like the imaginative powers too. But it is a scary reality that could be happening. I don't know.
Hmm. Could you imagine? Well, the issue like now, like what they're trying to figure out with healthcare is uh like it already helps diagnose and is able to predict like heart failure or like just things like hypertension. You have your smart wristband, your smartwatch, and it's able to tell you the issues that's going wrong with your body, and you're able to go seek this medical help before it gets even worse.
And I definitely seen this TED talk too by I think his name is Eric Topol that
Mm,
like discussed because he's a cardiologist himself and he discussed about like these implications in regards to like reading these ECGs, EKGs, and
Mm.
just like
yeah.
able to like derive data from that, just like age and sets, these complicated health diagnosis. So I'm just really wondering what you guys think about how AI is gonna be revolutionary in the healthcare field. Just any opinions, thoughts?
Um, my thoughts is I don't explain this, but I'm not looking as only positive. My concern is like the legal issues, the ethical issues. Like you're putting your life on the line for a robot that lacks like empathy and other human characteristics. So that's my main issue with it. But other than that, I think it's like fascinating that we've gotten this far in technology so quickly,
Yeah.
and like that AI can detect pre-cancer signs in matters of seconds or even less than a second just from an image.
Yeah. I feel like I have the same kind of worries about it because like in order for AI to get to that point where it can almost replace what a doctor is doing, it has to have, that empathy. It has to have like an unconscious, unconscious way of thinking to be able to piece all these external influences on what may be on somebody's health together to, find out what the issue is. And, the best way to actually what's it called to help the person out.
Yeah,
It's very scary. Just because, like, yeah, like what Isaac was saying. Like, there, I remember just seeing this too. Just it just popped up. Like, there's this specific AI in Japan that was just made to like identify like pastries versus these bear claws, but they
mm,
actually revolutionized it, and I actually like what's it called? It was into penile cancer, I think is what they transformed it into, and it has like good accuracy too. But then now we're having the implications of like, okay, so how like invasive like technologies, um, when they upload it to the electronic health records, how stable is that data link? Is it going to be intercepted for like other people? Like these, that's also part of HIPAA, right? Like
yeah,
so patient data doesn't like get leaked out and that used for like the worst.
Right, because like there's all it's still AI is produced by these tech companies, and we could trust our doctors with 100% of our faith, but at the end of the day, they're not the person in control of the AI as well. Like, yes, it's at their hands and at their expense currently, as we're looking, and they're using it to help diagnose and do all these things for their patients. But there's still, a huge like scandal that people are worried about. Like, what if our information is leaked? Now they have access to our medical records. This could get out, and I can definitely see how a lot of people could be worried with that.
Because data privacy is already like a huge concern for, well, just in our legal system. And also just like we see it with consumer data as well, like Google and Facebook. But we just see it with them, like they're facing these little court cases back then as well, like protecting these consumer rights to data. And
yeah.
so yeah, sheesh.
My other issue is like, okay, y'all use ChatGPT, right? And you tell it to do something, or, oh, can you look at this for me, this article or something? And then it gives you false information. It like puts it out of thin air.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, what if they do that for a person's health, like for a diagnosis or just small things? You like a physician's asking it a question, it gives it something, it's like that's inaccurate. I feel like
Right.
that's a huge deal
It's a
that we need to
huge
consider.
because at the end of the day, it's like, all right, well, it's AI. You're supposed to be able to trust it, and it's somewhat, you know, more intellectual than a doctor. I guess because you can just pull all the information off of there, everything that a doctor could know. But the issue is that like, is it actually true? Like these people have gone to years of school to ensure a person's health is the best it could possibly be. When AI, it comes up with this algorithm, and it could have one minor detail that may be a little loose in its mainframe, and end up, you know, injuring a person, or even worse, causing death upon their life.
Yeah,
And that's been like the few main concerns with like how machines and technology was raising up, like that it was going to replace the jobs of people, it's going to make us less more sensitive, more emotionally, more societal, right? But of
yeah,
course, we haven't seen like we have people like working on these machines still. And so, I kind of have like this idea where AI won't fully take over, even though like we have like crazy stuff from Elon Musk making self-driving cars and like these taxi cabs just flying in the air, especially around New Jersey. I don't know if y'all that. But so honestly, what do you guys think about AI taking over the healthcare field like that? We can go into specific examples soon too.
I think it's a good idea. I think giving using AI will help so much with especially the physician shortage. Um, I think it will give physicians more time to actually speak to patients, understand their patients rather than a short 15-minute consultation or 45 minutes. It'll extend the time and it'll be more one-on-one contact, which I think will greatly like build a relationship between patient and physician. So I think it's a great idea. I just don't think giving it so much power, like for instance, ChatGPT again. We a lot of students use ChatGPT an excessive amount, and they don't really learn how to do it themselves.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to like at first I was kind of disagreeing with you because like I just didn't think it should be implemented as much. But then like you tying it together all at the end, I completely agree because like we still have no trust in it. And for it to be able to get to that point where we can be able to use it almost as a substitute for a doctor, even with the diagnosis and just to be able to tell us what a general issue is with our own human body, it has to be able to think like a person, and that's where it gets dangerous, and where all of uh, these ideas of AI taking over become not so unrealistic. Because and like I had read a paper, I can't remember the author, but we're probably going to cite it in this podcast. But he was talking about how in order to do that, it was just a theory, but in order to do that, he would have to create a long-term conscious state for the AI and a short-term unconscious state. And this would kind of mimic what humans do, like how we react, whether we like, sit there and ponder upon it, an idea or subject in order to, come to a conclusion or a result, or, having that fast reaction, like, okay, this is going to be the best strategy we can be able to take in those high stakes situations, which, are obviously always in the hospital, because you have to be quick and think on your feet, is not something that you can really ponder about. But then there are aspects where you have to take into consideration, the long term influences, which would obviously come from the long term consciousness.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. But like, it's still a worry that AI could take over. So I think it should really be implemented because it's already doing so much good. Like it's making doctors work more efficient, and I feel like that's exactly what we need rather than the replacement of jobs. But
Mhm.
Yeah,
for
no, that's a good. Oh, sorry. Keep going.
sorry, I was just going to finish up by saying, like, for it to get to that level, it'd be quite like dangerous, and we'd have to do so many research into how it could affect people, and really, checking the legality of it all and how ethical it can be.
Mm-hmm. Because I was gonna say, like, it's definitely always supposed to be a tool used to be assisting, right? But
Yeah.
of course, like a lot of people would use it as its primary like mode of mechanism. And that's kind of where like the errors start coming in. And now it's like, well, I'm sure they had like a system in place for it, but it's like, okay, do we blame it on the AI, the company, or like the operator of this machine at that time, right? So
Yeah.
I think that's where like it's also like the legal implications
Yeah.
for starting to
Those
head
those
to.
variables really do matter, especially like the
Really.
company that made it, their data sets matter a ton. If they have
And it has
any
Those,
false data, it's a big deal.
yeah, and the issue with those like big corporations and the algorithms that they implement into AI is that it uses data that could be biased or you know, or prejudiced, unjustified,
Mhm.
based off of just what's inputted into any system, any kind of tech system across the U.S. or across the world. But the issue becomes is that some of those are false statements, or some of them may have been not the actual prognosis or of somebody, and these things itself could lead to something detrimental for the patient.
Hmm.
Mhm.
I
Especially
think
since, sorry,
no, go
like
ahead. Go ahead,
there
Drew.
as well, just like in those like social economics, like it like there's like data showing like, oh, like lower income neighborhoods or like more like black people of color or Hispanics have like higher risks of like heart disease, right? that could like influence future data, even though like the trends are showing that's like more narrower.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can go ahead now. So
Um, well, yeah, we talked a lot about the negatives. I think we should talk about a little bit of positives. Um, I think we could talk, for instance, that AI is used for making tailored treatment plans based off many factors and variables like patient history, genetic information, and biomarkers for like some neurological disorders, for instance, epilepsy and Parkinson's disease. I think that's pretty sick.
Yeah. Like, and that was the thing that you were talking about, using it as a tool. And I feel like this would be like, the perfect example of how it should be used and could be used in advance in the future to be able to, know, so I can't exactly what you meant, remember what you said, but be able to deal with diseases like those, like Parkinson's and Alzheimer's, and be able to get to, the groundwork of it.
Yeah.
especially like how I was like saying before, like when we first convened about this, it was like the 1970s first use of like AI in medicine. Like like it was very patient driven with this one AI. I forgot the name of it, which really sucks because it was a very cool instrument that they use, but it was just like you input the patient data and like helps you with the microbiology and like what antibiotics to prescribe. And of course, like the clinicians and the pharmacologists could always double check and also with like the patient history too. Like back then,
Hmm.
like making sure these drugs don't mix to make it actually worse, but to make it better. But I know there's also like some cool stuff happening in the cardiology field too, with the
Yeah.
EKGs. Or no, that's more neuro, I'm sorry. With the EKGs that I don't hear looking
It's
up
okay.
on.
I do that all the time.
And I
There's a
hope
lot
that
of E's, K's, and G's, and yeah, no.
EEG.
I got it all in before my MCAT, but a lot of that
Yeah,
information flew out.
that's fair.
But just yeah, no. So getting to like the cardiology aspect, I know like we were slightly talking about it before too, but like it just has like this early diagnosis of
Hmm.
like abnormalities, abnormalities within like
Abnormalities, yes.
yeah, oh my gosh. But yes, like it could like identify like left ventricular dysfunction. Um, it can detect this heart rate as well, like with our little smartphones. So
Hmm.
yeah, there's yeah, I don't know. I just think it's pretty cool.
No, it definitely is cool. I completely agree. Yeah, in cardiology especially, I think they have tons of ways they can use it. Uh, I believe they were putting it. Let me see.
Oh yeah,
One
no
moment.
research
One way
was
is like how they use it in smartwatches right now, to be able to monitor your heart rate and ECG, your blood pressure.
Yeah.
mhm. And also like just being prone to like heart attack risks as well, right? It says like, oh, abnormal high blood pressure, right? And that's something that I kind of suffer from too. So
Hmm.
it'd be like interesting to just like hear that just blurt it out whenever I like overexert myself.
Now, what would be like interesting to see AI go into is like how to detect genetic
Abnormalities, yes.
abnormalities. Yeah.
Hey
How to
guys,
detect the genetic abnormalities and you know be able to identify what kind of mutations and variation um affect the person's health.
there's like a whole genomic library, like the cDNA library that we learn
Hmm.
about in like our class. And I'm pretty sure in there they show these like genetic sequencing too that like shows like, oh, if you have this, then it's most likely to have like this disease. And honestly, I think I'm pretty sure they also use AI. I'm not too sure, but like for genetic screening of like newborns and making
Mm.
sure they're gonna be healthy when they come out instead of just like the visuals
Yeah.
of sound. And honestly, CRISPR is definitely a hot topic that we gotta cover at a later
Okay.
date.
CRISPR was probably my favorite thing to do in lab.
You got to do CRISPR in lab?
Yeah.
What?
I mean, like actually building up to it because our lab takes like I guess they want to teach you all the details and then give you a test about one specific detail, but it was really hard to get to. But like when once we actually were able to perform it in lab, I really liked it.
Because I feel like it definitely has its own ethical concerns too
Oh yeah,
that need to be discussed. But it's honestly amazing how science got that far.
Yeah.
right. That's
Just
why
with
we were only able to do it with flies.
mhm, especially with the genomic. No, it was a human genome project. It's crazy to think we only sequenced like the full thing back in like,
Mm-hmm.
and it was both an individual and a government project, like going on a race. And then it's like, wait a minute, we could like be a lot better if we combine it together. And so it like increased the speed a lot. That's all I gotta say to that one right now.
No, that's fair.
Yeah, but
Yeah, no, back to like the EEGs and like neural imaging because I know you guys are gonna be more fascinated by that, especially being neuroscience majors, right?
oh yeah, of course, because it's so like the thing is that it takes so many years to actually be able to be certified to read those kind of scans and know what you're looking for. But the thing with AI is that it just kind of it's like, oh, like it's right here. And then it may even help you detect things that you're not even looking for, but could be another issue with the patient. And I find that like really cool because it helps overall. It makes your job a lot easier, you know.
Right.
It brings it to you faster, more accurately. Like there's always the chance for AI to make a mistake, but humans make mistakes too, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So being able like it running, you could run this to probably like 100 times, and then probably find more things that a human eye can see, uh, and it could prevent so many things from happening, strokes or a heart attack.
Mhm. And I don't know if you guys read this book, but it's called The People's Hospital,
I
where
have
they,
not.
yeah, okay,
Uh,
because I had to do it for a class, and it was actually interesting because it like dwelled into like these cases of these like
Mm-hmm.
clinical cases where people were kind of like slightly mistreated or like because of like the situations of like how the hospital healthcare system ran, like they like delayed in treatments or like their situations got a lot worse as well. But it was describing this one case in there where it was just talking about how the mother, I believe, like used like ChatGPT for the for her child diagnosis,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like actually very spot on, right? Like she fed it all the information, but I think the kid ended up going for like a month or two, like with all these doctors not knowing like what like it actually was until the one doctor actually took it into consideration and was like, oh wait, it actually is this.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that back to that mistrust of AI too that we were discussing about, and just like, yeah, no, just like, oh, like who would be better in the field, right? Is it AI? Is it doctors? Just, yeah, no.
I feel like the thing is like you talk about the good, you got to talk about the bad too. And unfortunately, there are some doctors that are in it for the check, and that's in all careers, you know.
Yeah, no.
But I feel like in the world that we're coming up now, like being able to recognize AI not as if I buy into this too much, it's going to take my job, which was seen as like a positive correlation in a correlational study. That like the more people wanted to use AI, the less trust they had for it because they knew that like I'm using this for my job this much. Someday it could probably take over. But for doctors to be able to use it like hand in hand and actually know and figure out the issue and find a solution, that's the kind of stuff that we need to be taking forward because there's doctors that do that stuff all the time that will pass you along to one of their next doctor buddies for you to go in and have an appointment with and spend some more money just for them to give you the same diagnosis or not get to the issue because it happened with my little brother. We had to go to so many different clinics, different doctors. They were all saying the same thing, but it took one person to notice. She was like she looked at records from 2 years ago, like when we was first having these complications, and it was one single thing on there. I can't remember what it was, but she was like, this isn't normal. like this is like beyond normal. I think it was his blood oxygen level, and
Pretty big.
yeah, and he immediately had to get a I can't think of the word right now, like a blood transfusion, and yeah, and then like from that they were able to finally start taking these steps towards the actual solution. But at first they just kept prescribing these medications that never worked or only suppressed slash half treated the symptoms, which ended up getting worse over time. But I feel like, doctors, it really shows like the person that they are too, because at the end of the day, AI is probably going to be here to stay, and we should start using it to implement a better healthcare system.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, no, probably a little bit of bias here too, but yeah, no, I definitely see it as like reducing physician burnout too. That's like ever so increasing, especially since like newer physicians here can like upkeep with like the what's it called, like the 120 plus hours that the old doctors used to do. Just, just yeah, no, I would say that it really would help that too, and like the electronic health records, like when it was implemented, like we see a decrease in that and like what's it called? Oh no, not a decrease, but an increase in burnout. And it just really sucks because like, yeah, no, Pete, if your doctor, like especially for your little brother, Micah, like didn't have access to those electronic health records, I would presume that they used it, right?
Right.
Yeah, so if they didn't have access to that, like the paperwork might have been misplaced or like long
Mhm.
gone.
Yeah.
But since like you have like the access to it, and then I would say too, like AI would definitely be helpful in like identifying that as well.
Oh, for sure. Because
They can get it
this
out immediately. Mhm.
you could have put it into the any kind of, well, no, I'm not gonna say any kind, but AI system.
Just
It
yeah.
would have pointed, it definitely would have pointed like something like that out first off.
Yeah.
But it was like you said, like doctors obviously they put so many hours in, and it happens to a lot of them. You get burned out, and like you're just trying to get so many patients out the way and keep everything moving.
And then
Sometimes
the pajama time too.
what was that?
And then the pajama time too, which is in reference to like doctors still working outside of their clinics, like back home, like when
Yeah,
they're supposed to be resting. But no, there's like data on like the EHR showing that they're still active at that time.
right. Because they're still human, and humans get tired. And they're still up working hard, and trying to find these solutions. But obviously, the brain can only take so much stress and so much awakeness at that time.
And so it's definitely, I was gonna say fun, but it's definitely gonna be like a good challenge as us when because we're only pre-meds right now. But imagine like after going through med school, after our clinical rotations, and us actually being in the field, just like imagine like the stress we're gonna have to go through, but also like the assistance at the same time to help us through it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
What do you think?
It's a
Well,
lot to unpack.
yeah, I wanted to talk about epilepsy just a tiny bit, uh, how AI is incorporated into it. Um, it's really good for like pre-surgical evaluations. It allows some visualization of abnormalities like FCDs or hippocampal atrophy. There was particularly two, it was deep learning and CNNs have shown to have really high accuracy for detecting FCDs. I think primarily it's fascinating just how accurate it could be and how it's actually being used. It doesn't
Mhm.
make like tons of sense of how we went from never using it to now we have so much data and then we put it into just some coding and it's able to just look at a diagram or MRI or CT and be like, oh, this individual has a strong chance of having blank.
Right. I feel
Yeah.
like it's super interesting because like it's our brain's almost like a coding device in its own, and then these two are like communicating with each other. And then like even it's like early detection and like prediction abilities can help, I guess, narrow down these these patterns, and identify where they are. And that may not be like completely visible to humans, any kind of doctors. That we're not able to see these early warning signals because it could happen at any time. But with the wearing of this device, it could definitely like better be a benefit to the whole your whole brain and all these different sorry, I'm blanking right now.
No, it's all good. Honestly, I kind of want to like ask like a little follow-up question too. Just like, would you guys be using AI in like your practice or
Sorry, one more time. Cut out a little bit.
like, yeah, no, would you guys be open to using like this type of AI, this machine learning, like the new instruments that's like gonna be coming out? And we always see it like for the cardiology and like the physician interactions and like what Isaac was talking about before too for epilepsy, right? Like, would you want to use it in your AI? I mean, in your practice when you guys become physicians?
For sure, because it makes things like the thing that's hard is with human doctors that predicting when it's going to happen, and it can actually take these steps and help us find a preventative in order to to back it. So when this does happen, like we already have the safety precautions in place to help the patient at what they're best needing.
Yeah, no, of course I'd use it. It's hard not to even consider it. I think yes, it has its ethical concerns and legality concerns, but if it's used properly, it's probably one of the best tools that we currently have.
For sure.
And I think it's a wasted opportunity to not utilize it.
Mhm. Especially when patient lives are like on the line, of course.
Yeah,
And like with any assistance that we use, we always have to take a little grain of salt. Like it's kind of like why we go to school, to colleges, to medical schools as well. Not only to just gather this information, but also to critically think and like actually apply our knowledge in like a specific like organization way. Because even in like the healthcare field, they have like these charts where you're supposed to like test each one. And honestly, that's probably why healthcare gets a little bit expensive too. Just like a little,
yeah,
bit because they have to check all of these before like the next step where it might actually help to diagnose you or like where they prescribe you like these lower effective pharmaceuticals, even though like the higher ones would definitely help like so much more effective and rapidly.
yeah.
Yeah, and I
But
feel like sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
go on.
Then
No,
also, when the patient is at home, when they're not like able to be directly in front of you in your care, you're able to monitor their sleep patterns or their brain activity. And if God forbid, something does happen, you know, again, these preventative measures, you can call it in or send somebody and prevent the death of a patient, which is obviously, you know, forgive me of my lack of words, but I feel like it's God's work.
yeah, no,
No,
honestly.
I completely agree with that.
Yeah.
Just how neurotech also just gone this far as well. It's
Yeah.
just it seems like a little bit of a miracle work, of course, with science being like the main contributor, but I feel like it just helps explain God's creation, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and like just adding on to like early signs of strokes, I think were you touching on that earlier, Isaac? I thought you
Uh, like at the probably at the very, very beginning, I touched on it.
yeah. But just like during like the sleep patterns, of course, if you notice like irregular heart rhythms or of course like early signs of stroke coming up, able to identify that quickly and you have your at-home nurse just like helping you or hospice nurse, whatever, right?
Mhm. Not only that, just to add on to it, like being able to monitor and record these like the heart activity or brain activity, you're able to, like, as a doctor, you're able to log this in real time, or it'll log it in for you in real time, like what happened at this time, because nobody can really predict when a seizure is going to happen. You might be traveling on the road by yourself or in the supermarket. You may be in the restroom at home alone, and this thing could happen. And you know, if you're able to get to safety and somebody's able to get to you in time, this can be logged in for later and shared with these doctors, and they can put in the steps to prevent this from happening again. And then it'll just end up contributing to a better overall quality of life, because like even when you're alone, there's something there that's able to help you.
Yeah. Isn't it fascinating that like electrical computers were created in literally 1940s ish, so mid 1900s. It was created then, and then now we're at this point where you can just be like, hey, it can detect a whole person's like diagnosis in a matter of seconds.
Right?
Yeah.
Like the first IBM computer, which I think started like the whole creation of computers.
Yeah, that was like the IBM PC was in like the 1980s or something.
Yeah. So just insane how, and we're pretty much like the electronic generation too, right? That's where it started with us, where YouTube was just beginning, internet use started to become like a thing.
Yeah,
Social media, you know, crazy to think that's like what, back in 2012 maybe? I don't
yeah.
know. I don't know when Snapchat like came out, but that was like a crazy addition to my life once I finally got my phone at the end of eighth grade. It was like, hang on now. I'm just now connected to everyone just at this tap.
Yeah,
Mm,
it was insane.
mm.
I was low key scared because how the Snapchat had the map feature, and at first I think it just was on for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, not one of my friends, but like an associate, was somebody I knew. My like well being wasn't in danger at all. But one time, he sent like me a screenshot of where I was at that current space. He was like, "I know where you live now." Jokes on him. I wasn't at my house, but like from that moment on, I never kept it on. So like there's that distrust with some of the things, but it was still super cool being able to like connect with people and be like, oh, like you actually don't stay too far from me. Like we should hang out, play basketball or something.
Yeah.
Like leading off from like the Snapchat with everybody being online and everything, taking this kind of online course, like AI has really progressed a lot, and I'm not sure if like how far they've gotten with it, but they've even started to use AI to detect and analyze your cough and detect like respiratory symptoms, whether it's from COVID or like pneumonia and even asthma.
Yeah.
Really? That what they were doing during like the 2020 crisis.
Yeah,
Huh.
That time period, that was different.
That was just
Just
depression.
I remember do you remember Micah when we were at like was it Dr. White? Did we take sociology together? I'm pretty sure we did. We
we
were in
did
doc
it. We
we
did. We,
didn't?
we might have took it in
Did you not take it with Shantae?
yeah, I took it with her.
Then yeah, we took it at the same time.
Yeah,
Just
same time,
different
different
sections.
classes. Yeah.
But I
Just,
remember I went to the class, and then the next time we were gonna go, it was my turn to do the presentation.
mm.
And then thank God it was, well, not thank God, but we had our break because of COVID. I was expecting to be like a 2 week break, and I was gonna have to end
Jeez,
up
that's what
presenting.
yes.
But then bam, I'm freaking mid junior year,
Hmm.
and then I go back to class.
Let's give a little context behind a sociology class, right?
Oh,
Amazing professor. I think he's
yes.
one of my like favorite professors there, but his coursework was insane. We
I
had to
just wasn't ready.
wasn't ready at all, bro. We had to
Yeah,
summarize basically a whole textbook, section by section,
and then
write
present
down
about it.
articles and present about it, right? Because he didn't tell you what section you were presenting. Like you just come to class with whatever chapter he said, uh, summarize about, and then he would
Yeah.
choose you for just a random part. He's like, "Yep, come up." And if you didn't have it, what was the
Grade.
yeah,
I
you got
think,
that grade one, and it like
yeah.
made it harder on the class too. So it's like, oh, so I see you guys don't like doing your work, huh?
And those tests were probably like the weirdest but hardest tests I ever took. And I remember the average being like a 40.
Yeah.
And I was
Wait,
like, oh my gosh. And then when I got like a 60, I thought I was the smartest man alive.
What? And then there was those couple tryhards in class. Like, how did you get a 90?
Yeah, honestly, they're like, I didn't even study. And then you just see their notes. I'm like, bro, you study.
Yeah, you're a lie.
You're a lie. Well, what are you doing right now? Why even lie to
Yeah, like I
man.
studied too. I think what happened was some of them low key just brought more notes than they were supposed to.
me? Yeah.
Yeah, we tried to do things by the book, but hate to say it, COVID kind of saved us from that class. It was definitely going to be a failing grade, maybe even a C.
I think I would have got a C in the class if it wasn't for COVID.
Yeah,
But luckily, I ended up with a B. And
I'm
I only
very
ended up, I would have got a higher grade if it wasn't for that first exam.
yeah. The first one killed me.
upset.
It's always the first exam though.
I took it and I was like, oh, this is gonna be easy A. I took the
Yeah,
exam and then I got my grade right away. I was like, oh, I'm going home.
Was this like a college credited course
Yeah, this is
or
a dual credit. This was with Lone Star when we
wow?
were in, yeah. So it's on my transcript. Even
Mhm.
Baylor has
So
it.
they want to be like a little try hard about it.
Yeah. I'm
Like,
like, come on, man. This it was a tough course.
study.
And then you took sociology in Costa Rica
Hmm.
and you're
And
like, bro, this is the easiest course of my life.
no, I'm still mad that it's not like the actual sociology course I need for my Baylor transcript.
Ah,
They flipped it, and it was like a required course too.
yeah. It was
That,
fun though. It wasn't a bad course.
I really enjoyed it, and like the projects as
Yeah.
well, like us figuring out, or not figuring out, I guess, but like us examining the environment that we were in and trying to see what was like the big social economic status, like risk or problem that was happening
Yeah.
in
I
there, and like what our thoughts were. And of course, it's a very complex issue.
Yeah, like
Um,
my project was we made like we tried to bring awareness, so we built a social media called was it United Costa Rica or something like that, and we
mm,
would post about like the current data about homelessness and people under the international poverty line and stuff like that.
mhm. No, I completely forgot what my project was like fully about, but I know we were discussing about poverty as well, which is like a huge problem here in the US. And I'm wondering
Yeah,
if COVID affected that too. Just as
especially in major cities.
yeah, no. Like California always have poverty,
California, even Austin. Austin has a huge homeless problem.
and even here in Waco, like
Yeah.
it's sad to see. And it's pretty good that we have programs like Church Under the Bridge
Yeah,
on a
some nice
like
nonprofits.
uh-huh. And like just feeding the homeless after having like a good church service. That's
Yeah.
always like, a little nice too.
Did you participate in Meals on Wheels?
Yes.
Yeah,
That's
I
the
was
Get Back project.
yeah,
Mhm.
that was good. That was fun.
Mhm. I'm wondering how, because I know we talked about it before too, like how AI would have like that social SES implications. I
Yeah.
wonder how it would do like making these programs and like showing like those statistics like predicted for like how effective it could be.
Hmm.
Like if we fed it like the Meals on Wheels idea, would it say like, oh yeah, no, this would be like an amazing idea, or would it also well, I'm sure that's like what ChatGPT does too, right?
No, I think ChatGPT like really like just whatever you say is like, yeah, I agree with you.
Really?
yeah. So
Yeah,
many times I've
yeah,
told her like
especially
you're wrong,
recently.
and I'm like, it's like I agree.
Uh,
You're like, you are correct. I was wrong. And then says the same exact thing.
oh, like the one YouTube video about like gaslighting the AI to say 2 + 2 = 5.
Yeah.
That repetition. And it's just like, oh no, actually it's 5. It's like,
Like
oops, right.
I like I like one time while I was at Baylor, I tried to use it for a math problem for my statistics class. I was
Mhm.
like, okay, I need help. Can you give me something regarding like I gave an equation, like I made it up and I was like, I put it in and I was gonna see what it resulted with, and it gave me a wrong answer. And I was like, hey, you're wrong. Try doing this step. and it does a step but gets the same answer. I'm like, you're still wrong. I don't know how you got it wrong.
hmm
At
And,
that point, I was just testing his accuracy, and it
Yeah.
was sometimes it wasn't accurate.
and I'll be honest too, like, because I wasn't always the most confident in my physics answers, so
Be like that.
I always had it like double check my work in a sense.
Yeah.
I plug it like word for word. I will admit just to like double check the work, and like it would have like the right idea, but it could never use the equation right. So I always
Yeah.
would have to like kind of retro synthesize it in a sense
Mm-hmm.
to like use the equations from like my beginning step, and then I would get like the correct answer, but not the same that Gemini would have gotten. But I would
Yeah.
say when I got into physics too, and like help double check like EMG forces, like it definitely was a little bit more accurate. I was quite surprised.
Yeah. I think it's probably when you got to physics two is when they upgraded the model.
hmm
So
Which
it
I think,
probably became more accurate because it like had a development, it had a different arc.
Yeah. The thing with AI too is that like the things that we learn in class and then have access to these uh like these research papers and professional articles. Like AI doesn't have access to some of those, because this is a completely third party, source, and
Yeah.
it doesn't have the access to it. Because I remember one time it was neurobiology of human disease, and we had like these weekly quizzes, and this one quiz was troubling me so bad, like I was second guessing myself. So I was like, let me just use chat, get it over with. And at first, like everything chat was saying was making so much sense until I turned it in and it came back like a zero. I was so mad at that point.
and I'm pretty sure it was like the answers you got at the first place, right?
Yeah. And I triple checked it. I was like, okay, like, why is this? And I'd go back to my like my textbook and my notes. I'm like, okay, I can see where the correlation is from,
Nah.
but it was just still completely wrong.
No, ChatGPT is a master manipulator.
And what?
It
And
it
honestly,
it makes me think my wrong answers right.
that's why I kind of like using Notebook LM because you could
Oh
just
yeah,
like
it's a good one.
it, you could just feed it like the slides and all the information, like the notes you took, and
Yeah.
it could also use outside sources too after you ask like enough, and
Mm-hmm.
it specifically tells you too, like, well, this was coming from an outside source, so just double check this line to be sure. But I
Yeah.
definitely used it to make study guides before my HFIS exams,
No,
and
I
definitely saved.
Notebook LM is perfect.
Huh? And then doesn't ChatGPT like have that feature now too, where you can just feed it stuff and it'll take it strictly from there? Or does it still take
Well, you
it?
have to tell it like,
Yeah, you have to specify.
yeah, only pull from this article which I'm sending you right now, labeled this, and it'll be like, okay. But I like one time it did pull from something else, but I think this was before the update. But now like, I don't really have that issue with it, and I use it all the time to help make my study guides.
For
Mhm.
ChatGPT, you have to make a really good prompt to make it a really good AI.
Yeah.
Mhm. I heard
So
Chat 4 was getting a lot better too than its
which one?
predecessors. Chat 4. That's like
Oh
the
yeah, 4.0.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, it's pretty good.
Like as far as I guess chat being helpful to us, at least it can like optimize your work. Like I said, like you said earlier, you have to use it as a tool, not as something
Hmm.
to rely on. Like it helps you be more productive, like even with your studying as well too.
No, I used it for my behavioral medicine class, specifically Notebook LM. I would feed it my slides and then my notes, and then I would ask it to like for specific context of a scenario, for instance, because in that class we have to it's article based. We have to read articles, learn about them, and then learn what she correlate them with the class, and then write notes based off of that, and then that would be our exam. We would whatever what the correlation was, she would ask about in the exams.
Hmm.
They were intense sometimes, but yeah. So I would feed it, and then I would ask it. hey, I don't understand this topic. Can you cite where it says blah 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 blah?
Mhm.
And then it would feed it, and it's like exactly what I needed. It's like literally near perfect. And then I would study those, and I think low key that's probably why I excelled in that class.
And I'm pretty sure I influenced you on that too, right? Because I think when
Yeah,
I covered it, I was like, this is gold. I must share this precious knowledge
I
with.
showed you Notebook LM.
No, I found it first from Dr. Sen.
No, 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 no,
This is my first time.
no. I mentioned it, bro. I
And then
remember.
you're like,
But you influenced me to use it as my my primary for that class.
yeah,
I'll give
see,
you that. But I
that's
know about it.
and then like Scopus AI too, like finding research articles. I don't know if you
Oh,
use, but I started using that a bit.
Focus?
Scopus AI, just Scopus AI.
I think
If
I've
they
heard of
want to give
that.
us a sponsorship, that'd be pretty nice. But yeah,
I have not heard of this one yet. I need to look into this.
I haven't heard
it's
of any of the ones you just said. I need to look at them all. I'm like writing them down.
and make sure you guys write this down for your pre-med journeys.
Oh, facts. And they're starting to come out with so many like AIs for pre-med too. I saw this advertisement on Instagram. It was a med school student and like how he was struggling just like making the notes for all these classes and like he had the notes, but obviously in med school is a lot different, I guess. So you have to like write everything down and then go through it later, organize it. But he said like using it to organize his notes and then it would even bring up stuff. Because I think he was able to record the lecture and then he like sent it in and he was able to bring up stuff that like he missed or make these kind of connections that he wasn't able to. And it was really cool. I was like, I definitely need this.
Yeah. You know what I don't like? When professors don't record their lectures.
Oh,
I'm like, okay, I'm in your class, I'm writing notes down. But if I miss something, I missed it.
yeah,
I'm like, in reality, if I'm learning about something, I can literally Google it.
right. And they're like,
So why not?
But sometimes they want that specific information too. So it's like now too generalized once you go over
Yeah.
it.
because the issue
So
is like they're talking about stuff in class and they're like, oh, I can't go back. We have too much to cover. I'm like, well, at least record your lectures. They're like, no, you should be paying attention. Like I am. I
yeah,
just right
I
there.
asked one of the professors before I actually took the class, like, do you record your lecture? He was like, no, and I was like, can I record your lecture? He was like, no. I was like, bruh,
Still does it.
That's
I did not do that.
oh, can attest to it. That information.
I would
Copyrighted.
never disobey my professors
Ever, ever.
ever.
What if they sue you for copyright for for recording the lecture?
I didn't
Honestly,
post it.
yeah.
I didn't re-record it.
Yeah, so you say.
Yeah.
All right, how about like obviously like the self-driving cars are starting to rise up with AI. And there was some talk about what Elon Musk was gonna like planning on doing. And I guess one thing is not I can't really say if it was his idea or not, but one thing that was up in the air was how he wanted to like buy Uber or like Uber was gonna buy Lyft, he wanted to buy Uber, and then he was gonna use these, AI cars to to replace the driver and which makes it safer, I guess. But the issue, like it just takes a lot of people out of their jobs.
You know, especially since it's like what's it called? Like it's like the actual definition of like an entry job, right? Like
Yeah.
you could literally just start it up, start your contract, make sure everything falls in through, and then like we can just start driving, make money. But honestly, yeah, I was like hearing about that too. And I was just hearing like once like you're done with your Tesla, like you already got to your destination, there's like what's gonna be this app where you could literally just send off your Tesla and it will make money for you. It's like when you're like going to school, like back at Baylor, you send your car off and literally be down in like Austin or San Antonio, just doing its trips before like the designated time. And honestly, that was just crazy for me to like first hear it from like a friend.
Yeah, from
Um,
the what's it called? But like the issue with that too is like, same thing that people worry about within like the medical field is having that person to person interaction. It makes things authentic. And
mhm.
I know like myself, I'd be a little scared if I got to the back of a car and nobody was driving.
You know,
Oh
like
yeah, no, I don't like that.
yeah, I feel like there was like a lot. Isn't there like movies on it too, where like the car like system will just malfunction, and then all of a sudden, like even just like regular driving scenarios, like your brake system just like cuts out. You can't cancel your
Yeah,
destination.
there was a
Yeah.
show that literally started off its season like that. It was like he was in the car and then I probably someone hacked his car or something and then he just
So it's like
crashed.
speeding,
And
right?
then it was a show about where when they die, your family can pay for you to go to like a electronic world or something.
Oh,
Oh, that sounds kind of cool. Would y'all ever do
It's a
that?
comedy.
Yeah,
no,
No,
I was like, it has to be a comedy.
that's like another thing that Elon
I
Musk
would
is
not do that.
like, like the Neuralink. Of course, it's not like Sword Art Online, right? Where you're just like in a
The
completely
the
oh,
Neuralink is pretty cool. Well, the goal of it's pretty cool.
um, doing
Uh,
like computing.
like like if they have epilepsy, giving them a shock or something, like stuff like that. Or isn't he trying to do something where he's trying to help like people that can't see?
I think so. Is this on I think I know which one you're talking about
Ooh.
and think of the show.
I think the concept is cool. I haven't seen any data for it yet.
He's
Like I think they barely got approved to use human participants like probably like a year ago.
so it's very going to be in progress soon.
Yeah.
These I know there was like these
What?
color vision like corrections, like
Yeah.
helping like the colorblind people see like the whole vast of colors again.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Like they had like these special glasses to do that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember Logan Paul had
I
got
was about to say the same thing.
That picture I'm thinking
You
it
did
from.
the reaction like, oh,
And then I looked into it a bit too, and I was like, oh, this is pretty cool stuff they're doing, huh?
yeah,
But no, like just like the gene therapy, stem cell therapy that they're doing, it's just insane. And I think
yeah,
I kind of know what you're talking about, like the blind people like regaining this vision, because
yeah.
it
actually
has
it
to
happened in
do
real
with
life. I was
like
gonna
the optical vein. Sorry, but like just that optic nerve going,
Yeah,
it's like that implant's just like changing that to like it's for the impulses, just trying to think back to like the human physiologic aspect of it,
yeah.
like
I think
control. Yeah.
I think I'm pretty sure like it happened in real life too. Like it's already happened. It was on I can tell you the show. Maybe somebody else can find it, whoever's listening. Don't have the time for that. But this it was this husband and like he never saw his daughter, because he lost his sight before she was born or like during the pregnancy and down the line, I think she was like 6 or 7 maybe, but they had came out with the technology to be able to give him sight, and then like this was all broadcasted too because it was not like a show on Netflix or anything, but like one of those impersonal shows with actual audience and everything, and he was able to see his daughter for the first time, and it was really heartwarming.
yeah. You
No,
ever like on TikTok and then like a heartwarming thing, just go on their page and just scroll for like a stiff 10 minutes?
Absolutely every time, bro.
Yeah. Or I always get those and then the ones where like a military person comes back.
Mm.
Yeah, those are the common two I get.
Yeah, those are always the mom, bro. And it's always like it's always a surprise. And then I hate the ones that go on forever though. I'm like, can you please come from out of the closet or behind the board? Like, show yourself to your mom. Like, I'm over here on
That's
the
when I hold the side so it 2x's it.
you're so right. I
thank
like
you.
to watch things at record speed.
No, but you know what I just realized? I just realized that like in regards to this like the eye implants
Mm-hmm.
that you were talking about, Isaac,
Yeah.
that Mr. Beast did a video about this back then.
Yeah. And he fixed like a whole bunch of it was in Africa, right? They did it?
In Africa, I don't know.
What no, or that was something else. He did something with the eye people.
Yeah, no, I know like I'm trying to bring things back to the video, but yeah, no, I'm just seeing like on here that he like helped recover like 1,000 people to like regain their sight again and like show like the whole surgical process in it,
Oh, it
going down
wasn't.
at the end.
It wasn't. Many locations. It seems
Dang,
it was in Kenya, Vietnam, Brazil, Honduras, Mexico, and more.
wow.
I think. How do you hate on that?
You can't.
No, no, he got backlash for it.
Really?
Yeah, he
On
got
that.
tons.
Was it like
Yes.
unethical?
No, it wasn't at. Well, they made it seem like he did it because he wanted a cash grab. I was like, even if you wanted a cash grab, bro, he still fixed 1,000 people's eyesight.
You know, see, he like some of his other videos could be like little cash grabs, right? But like,
Yeah,
no, but this one specifically was one of like the better ones that he did.
Even
yeah.
if it was a cash grab,
That's what I'm
like
saying.
you know,
You,
I feel like he deserves it.
Hmm? I mean, we already know he's gonna do these on like the tax forms, right? Like, yeah, I did this, gonna regain that money back. Like,
Oh, okay. He just claims it all back. He's like, yeah, this was all volunteering. I helped the. Like, could you imagine that? Just put it on your taxes. Like, yeah, I gave 1,000 blind people eyesight. Like, yeah,
I
bro,
mean,
just take the whole company.
hmm. But no, it's like very like back to what we were saying before too. Like, really makes you think of how far technology has went and it, like been applied to like healthcare again.
yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if like you were talking about we were talking about the same show, Isaac, but I think it was Black Mirror.
No, it's not Black Mirror. But
Uh, have you watched it?
I saw like the first season. Are you
Yeah.
talking about the new season, like the one that was trending everywhere, where they put the thing on the side and then
Yeah.
their eyes flick back?
Yeah.
What?
Well, they have a couple seasons, but like just the concepts that they have in there of what these like Neuralinks or
Yeah,
kind of neurosurgeries or whatever they had to do with the brain were really cool. But it always showed like the like what could go wrong. So I found it kind of interesting. But I feel like that's also a good way of, you know, letting the public fill it out and actually test these hypotheses
yeah.
and stop that from actually going wrong
Because anything's possible if you really think about it.
for sure.
It's
For
Uh,
sure.
created.
Right.
so apparently, 3 people have already been have Neuralink implanted.
Oh wow, just like in the day-to-day life.
Uh-huh. Well, I think each one of them had a condition of some sort.
Yeah, no, I'm just a little curious because I know I like kind of brought it up, but I'm still curious on like what the implications or purpose of Neuralink is. Like,
It's
what's the
like
point?
I said, like for epilepsy, it sends a shock, so it prevents a seizure, or uh if they have ALS or something like that. It's like a preventative task thing.
Yeah, I can see that. It has to be because like the thing when they had came up with that idea and it first became publicized, it was so much backlash on it because everybody was like, I'm not gonna have somebody be able to control my brain. Like, what if somebody hacks it and now I just die,
Hmm?
lose all brain function? But like for diseases that are so overwhelming, where at this point I'd rather go get it tested than keep living like this, and
Yeah,
it still be able to like produce these benefits is outstanding.
Hmm. And then also like I think then like these Neuralinks could also be used in like because I've seen it too where like paraplegics like they're just like fully immobilized
Mm-hmm.
and they're able to like talk through like using their brain waves into like a computer that just says it for them. Is
Yeah,
that it's just yeah.
because they have what's it called? Like when they have the prosthetic limbs, they use this Neuralink system to directly connect them, so they are able to move it. Like they're like it's their regular limb. Just be able to have a thought and not even let me reach for this, grab it, close my hand, but it's just you see something, you grab it, and it's your prosthetic limb, and it's like a complete replacement of what was there before.
yeah.
And that's why biomed engineering too is just gonna be so insane.
Oh,
In the
absolutely.
future. we're literally gonna have cyborgs come up. Like Micah, how do you feel to be a part of the Teen Titans?
Yo, you know, I've thought about that before because I saw RoboCop one time and I was like, if I ever got to that point, would I do that? But you know, at that point, I feel like life is so precious that just let me die, you know?
Yeah. Like, are you really even living at that
Yeah,
point?
bro.
You're kind because they control you in all reality.
Yeah.
Like the newest one, which came out probably like a decade ago at this point. Um, yeah, that one. That literally one of the endings was you can't shoot the the main guy, the main villain,
Yeah.
because he basically owns you.
It's just programmed into you.
Yeah.
Yeah. That see,
Oh,
that's the kind of life I wouldn't want to live.
this also reminds me of like Detroit Become Human. Of course, they're like fully
Oh,
and
that's a good game.
like they got all sentience and free will, but then you find out at the end, like the cop dude just like
Mm,
did not have this full control, and they
yeah.
like take you at the end for one of the endings, and you just shoot the revolutionary leader, and that really messed me up for a bit too.
You know, I guess like those movies that show like all one thing, you know, good things sometimes are just too good to be true. And all good things must come to an end, unfortunately. So I think it's time to wrap up this podcast. And any last thoughts?
No, I think
No, I'm happy that we were able to discuss this amazing topic of AI.
Yeah,
Uh,
and just technology, just in general too.
yeah,
it's really cool to like think and talk about what it could do and all the advances that people can make and what it's done already. Because like some of the things y'all listed, I didn't even know. Like it's already like taking a step forward. I thought it was like still just a thought that somebody had.
yeah. Well, we didn't cover every topic that we thought we would, but we'll list them in like a description. We'll put our sources down. Um, so yeah.
Thank you guys for joining us. This is Outside the Lab podcast here for your weekly talks about the research and to keep you interested on all the medical progresses in the world.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you for joining.